let's move on. Now, Dr. Nigeria's former Minister of Finance, Dr. Okonjo-Iweala, is now being announced as the new Director General of the World Trade Organization, WTO. Dr. Okonjo-Iweala emerges as the first female and also the first African to head the beleaguered organization. Upon her appointment, she pledged that a stronger WTO would be vital for the global coronavirus recovery, adding that the nearly paralyzed institution desperately needs a reboot. She becomes the organization's seventh Director General since its creation in 1995 and will take her up post on March 1st. And her term, which is renewable, will run until August 31st, 2025. Let's now look at the task ahead of Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala as she makes history. I won't be doing this alone. As usual, I have joining me live from our Abuja studios is a senior economist with SPM Professionals, Mr. Paul Alaje. Mr. Alaje, thank you very much for your time on the show.
Thank you so very much for having me. Good afternoon.
Yes, Mr. Paul, I'm sure you're one of the you're a Nigerian, and Nigerians are so excited about this appointment. First, we've seen her CV and where she's worked, experience, and all of that, both local and international. First, how does this come to you?
Well, good news. Good news coming to Nigeria, coming of course to the entire Africa continent. Because we know, and the world also knows, that we have the competence as black nations to take the world to the next level. It's also good news to the world because eventually it appears that the trade conflict between China and America will be set aside because Dr. Okonjo-Iweala is coming as a neutral person to lead as the Director General of WTO. So for us, we believe that it's a good news, and we are also very confident that the performance of the former Minister of Finance, who took Nigeria at the time to 7% GDP growth rate, we've not been able to repeat that since 2014 till date. The first time she came, she also put a lot of effort to ensure debts were forgiven for Nigeria, talking about Paris Club and so on and so forth. A lot of effort was put in place. So in the first time when she was Minister of Finance and the second time when she was Minister of Finance, we saw great impact directly on the economy. Number two, she has also been on different boards in Africa, supporting the eradication of polio in the whole of African continent. So I'm not surprised when she said global health challenges is what she wants to combat, or what she'll be looking at, public health particularly, as she been named the Director General of WTO.
Mr. Alaje, let's be a little specific. Now, we're looking at economic and health consequences brought to us by COVID-19. And we've seen the negative impact so devastating on all economies. We've seen inflation today at 16.47%. In what particular way do you see the World Trade Organization playing that role in addressing issues around trade barriers, around tariffs, and all issues that have to, that comes around trade?
Well, we are not exporting enough, and that is why we have challenges with our foreign reserve. With Dr. Okonjo-Iweala being the Director General, I believe Nigerian authorities have access because before her emergence, President Buhari had said he will provide necessary support for the doctor to become, to emerge as African candidate and eventually become the Director General of WTO. So I strongly believe she has robust relationship with Nigerian authority, and that Nigerian authority, we have maximized opportunity that is available to us now that we have one of us at the ends of affairs. What that means is in areas where we have been having issues with negotiation, we have soft landing. Apart from that, if authorities locally, we do the needful by providing useful infrastructure and support private sector to improve and increase output. Definitely, Nigeria we benefit and also liberalize some of the markets that have remained protectionist, quote and unquote, in nature.
Mr. Paul, we've seen reports from the Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission and also Nigerian Export Promotion Council talking about how we can improve trade, particularly in regards to exports and all of this. What's your assessment of the figures coming in from all of these agencies, particularly at this time that we talk about diversification of the Nigerian economy, looking away from oil? Are we really taking advantage of the resources that we have in this part of the world? If we are not, what needs to be done?
Okay, so our first major resource is human resources. One of our products is Dr. Okonjo-Iweala, and she has proven that not just in Nigeria, at the level of World Bank, and now with WTO. We have also blessed, apart from human, with a lot of natural resources. Our challenge with that remains conversion, our ability to convert natural resources to finished product. As much as Nigeria Export Council has given a number of things that we could do as a people to improve our output and our export, we still have challenges and bottlenecks with infrastructure. This can only be done with the support of government. Perhaps that could be the reason why President Buhari launched Infraco, I think last week. So we can, with investment of 1 trillion naira. So we can only but wait to see how Nigerian authority will maximize it. Do I think we are doing enough? The answer is no. I could see government is making effort, but is this effort sufficient? No, because from time to time, we continue to see negative impact of reduced exports on our exchange rate. Exchange rate is not just that central bank or monetary policy committee comes and make policy and we start seeing reduction in the value of naira to dollar or other major currency of the world. The truth is we are not doing enough to provide value for the rest of the world. If anything happens to crude oil, it seems to have tremendous negative impact on our local currency. So for us and for me as a person, I would say government should look at how to transform the economy from natural economy in nature to an economy that is driven with production, economy that is driven with output, with finished good. Because when you look at what National Bureau of Statistics reported at the first quarter of last year, it shows that in 2019, over 80% of our imports were finished good and also input for manufacturing, most of which we could produce in our country with the skills we have. If you have power, if you have infrastructure that is needed and useful education, definitely we can reduce the burden. So the world is not saying we cannot bring our product, and in areas where we might be having it challenging to bring our product, exactly what are we selling? What are we producing for the rest of the world? It was said by former Minister of Agriculture that Nigeria will export yam to some countries. But what has come after the export of yam? How many tubers of yam we exchange for an Apple laptop? How many tubers of yam we exchange for the camera that is filming me right now? So we need to put knowledge into export. And knowledge will definitely require some level of investment in infrastructure, health, education, more importantly. So if we don't want to do the needful, it's as if we want to build a house without foundation.
Mr. Paul, there's also, in another segment, there's an argument that there's also a need to reboot the WTO to meet up as a 21st century organization. What do you think about that? A lot of work also needs to be done, talking about technology and all of that, to also improve the workings of the World Trade Organization. How does that come to you? You see, just lately, National Theatre will be revamped to meet up with the 21st century. So what do you think about the WTO also being rebooted?
I think so that the world has left 2019. A brand new world has opened to us in 2020. More so that we now live in a world without wars. WWW, what you call World Wide Web, is a world without wars. What that means is that we are in Lagos, I'm in Abuja, but we can have conversation. We don't even need to be on screen. We can use app to have this conversation. The world has so changed. The reason why we had elongated trade disputes between China and America is because we have some challenges with communication using old technology to battle new realities. President Trump was able to achieve a lot in terms of placement of sanction on China, on products from China, because there was no timely intervention from WTO. So I strongly believe that the candidate must have crossed some hurdles before getting to this level. And as someone who has made use of technology, not just in Nigeria, but also at World Bank, I strongly believe that she would deploy the right technology to change WTO to the kind of organization we will all be proud of.
Now, Mr. Paul, AFCFTA is on one side. We talked about that just lately, and we started the implementation of this in January. Yes, we know we still have so many things to do to smoothing all of the rough edges. But with WTO now coming on the other side, what are the positives? Now, like Dr. Okonjo-Iweala said, it's not all about the US, it's not about China, it's all about the EU. We're talking about all member countries here. What are the positives for Africa?
Okay, so one of the positives for us is that African Continental Free Trade Agreement makes Africa become the single largest market in terms of intertrade. But we may still have intruders and people that may not play according to the rules. But referee seems to be one of us. So it means if you have seen the body language of Mrs. Iweala over the years when she had disputes with some governors in Nigeria, and I'm talking of powerful governors, she stood her ground. She was always producing releases regarding why Nigeria should not borrow and state government should not borrow. These were friends of the government. These were friends of the president, as it were. But she has refused to sell her conscience, to say the truth to authority, that if we continue to spend this way, it will hurt us. Today, we have added 1 trillion naira to debt, not because we borrow more money, not because we have service, but because of devaluation. Some of the prophecies that have gone ahead that Nigeria will pay for. Right now, we are paying so dearly for some of the economic sins that we have committed. So I strongly believe that with African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, alongside with our emergence at the Director General of WTO, is going to place Africa at a spot where we can be at advantage. Even though we want to export anywhere in the whole of Africa, we are sure that what the rule is the way we'll be treated.
That everyone will be fairly treated. Is that what you're saying, Paul? Paul, the woman fold has also been rejoicing, celebrating these things yesterday, saying the first woman and the first African, a woman of many, many, many firsts. Does this re-echo that fact that people will say that what men can do, women can even do better? Don't forget, the last Director General, or the immediate past, was in office, but he left office even before time because of the stress and all of the issues coming, conflicting issues around tariffs, issues around conflict, around disputes around trade and all of that. But Dr. Okonjo-Iweala is taking all of this head on and ready to swing into action.
Well, she has always been known as a woman that faced difficulties, and she comes to solve them. Before Dr. Iweala became Minister of Finance, we have had several military rules with economic growth. In fact, you live in Lagos, so you'll be used to what we call, quote and unquote, in Southwest, abacha stove. It's the extreme of poverty at a time was really high, that people use waste from wood, which he calls sawdust, to cook at a time. And Nigeria was relatively in a recession, if you want to say what the figures were. But when she came, she noticed that there was huge burden on debt service, just as we're having it today, and used our influence, international community, with the support of the president then, on how Nigeria could get debt forgiveness. Luckily for us, we were given debt forgiveness. Revenue that came to the pocket of government was spent properly, and it was spent judiciously to a large extent. Then we start feeling the impact, and you start seeing positive growth. And Nigeria started making projection. There are a lot of data that were not even available before 1999, Nigeria Fourth Republic. But today, we now have data. We now talk about National Bureau of Statistics being prompt and producing figures as at when due. So I understand her to be an economist, but beyond the economist, someone who is organized and a leader who carries team members along. So wherever you come from, white, black, Latino, wherever, I strongly believe we're going to have a replanned, a restructure, a systematized, a reorganized WTO, and we're going to have it so that the world can be proud, and unlike what happened before COVID between America and China, we will not have similar experience in the coming period.
We don't need to have that kind of problems we had then, talking about U.S., China. Finally, vaccine distribution is also key, and we know what's been happening, a lot of talks on the ground talking about how the distribution will be done. And Dr. Okonjo-Iweala also mentioned that the WTO would do something all around vaccine distribution. What do you make of this? What are expectations talking about equal opportunities for all countries? That's what I'm looking at here.
Well, equal opportunity for all countries is relative. The population of Nigeria is more than that of UK, and I'm happy that she's saying, she's talking about distribution and equal opportunity. Yes, so when you look at countries that should have, or it should be proportionate to the population of different countries. So I strongly believe that is the immediate task. That is what she should look at. How can we have distribution, not just for developed country, but more importantly to developing countries who are also economic agents and contributing to the global economies. No matter what is produced in the West, if people don't consume it, the factory will close down. So it is because you have consumers that you continue to produce. So it's important that protection should not just be for those who are producing or who have done research. There are people who will also consume research. While, of course, Africa should start considering how to make vaccines in the coming period, because we don't know what could be the next economic or health challenge. But we should organize ourselves so we don't necessarily need to wait and become feeding bottles, or for the rest of the world to solve problems and we become recipients. But we are here already. I will also want to support what she said, that distribution should be the immediate solution. Perhaps World Trade Organization may want to support countries that have not solved their cold chain technology, cold chain distribution, I beg your pardon, very well. Nigeria authorities said we are prepared, but we are watching. We are yet to receive vaccines. Once it comes, we now know how well as government of the country prepared.
All right, there, I think it's a good way to leave it. Mr. Paul, in 30 seconds before I let you go, because it's always good to have you, I want your comments on 16.47% inflation rate. Well,
16.47 inflation rate is the result of ongoing kidnapping, ongoing insecurity, and inability to solve security issues. If you have it, we are still having it, so don't expect reduction by March when February results comes out. Until we are able to allow more and more people to go to farms and they will be secured, and for others to continue their practice without necessarily having conflict with farmers. When two a major component of our agricultural sector can cohabit without one intruding on the right of others, we will start seeing reduction. But watch this. It is not only fiscal authority that determines what inflation is. We have moved MPR from 14% to 11.5% because monetary policy authority are trying to converge with fiscal authority. And when you continue to have low and low MPR, you should expect high and high inflation figures. So monetary angle, we should not be surprised. We have just prepared a level for inflation to continue to increase. Fiscal authority that should then champion recovery. Unfortunately, we still have a lot of logistical issues, because even when in areas that are not affected by, say, insecurity, we still have a lot of challenges in terms of mobility. Go to Kogi State, the top highest inflation. They perhaps among the states with horrible infrastructure in the country today. Even though one would have expected that Kogi State, because of where it is located, we enjoy what we call growth pole model. Unfortunately, it is not reflecting in that state.
Well, it's a good way to live it. Mr. Paul Alaji, I thank you very much for your time. Senior economist at SPM Professionals. Thank you.